What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? The biggest questions of all. The questions that have dogged the greatest minds for centuries. It makes me look up to the heavens in awe at our vast, magnificent universe and wonder at the possibilities of what life is all about. Join me on a journey to understand more about who we are, why we're here, and to discover more happiness, meaning, and purpose. Hello, and welcome to part 4 of the film.
In the first part, we discussed some findings in science that give us some intriguing clues as to the nature of reality around us.
Here is a reminder of some of the jigsaw pieces that we talked about in the science section. 96% of the universe we can't detect, we don't know what it is, and we have no explanation for. Human consciousness remains relatively unexplained by science so far. Incredible, isn't it? That what we take for granted, being alive, is difficult to actually describe. Human observation affects the reality around us. There may be no such thing as an objective reality, but only subjective realities. You, your consciousness, might be linked to the world around you. Seemingly independent bits of matter in the universe may behave as if they are still connected. Now, this isn't some misty-eyed mystic saying this. This is what modern science is actually revealing to us. Consciousness may also be connected between two human beings. All the matter in the universe and the consciousness may all be linked together in a mysterious web of communication. Underlying many of our behaviours is a search for happiness. That's what we all really want deep down.
Surveys also show that two things that we all want more of as human beings are love and connection. All great traditions in the world talk of love.
Whether you are a religionist, an atheist, or a spiritual person, many of us can at least agree on this.
Love, happiness, connection. 3 profound quests that we all undertake as human beings. These give us fantastic insights as to the meaning of life.
According to quantum physics, nothing that is observed is unaffected by the observer. As mentioned, human observation, our minds, actually affects the matter around us. There is a connection.
So if at some level everything could be a subjective experience, can we say something about the subject, us, human beings? What is a human being? Who are you? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Well, let's conduct a mini experiment right now. I would like you now just to close your eyes. Now please open your eyes. What just happened in your mind? What did you think about? Maybe you thought, why is he making me close my eyes? What's his agenda here? Or maybe you were thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. Or maybe you were thinking about chocolate. You probably had a flow of random thoughts in the mind. Now please close your eyes again. This time, I want you to be aware of what you think about, so that you can remember what you're thinking about afterwards. Now please open your eyes. Now what was the difference between the two experiences? In the first one, you probably had some thoughts in the mind, and so the answer to the question, who are you, might be, I am the mind. I think, therefore I am. The famous statement made by Descartes, the French philosopher in 1637. Now in the second experience, I asked you to observe your thoughts. So you probably observed some thoughts coming up in your mind. But ask yourself, who was doing the observing? You can't be the mind and at the same time observe your mind. Can you observe your left eyeball directly using your left eyeball? No, of course you can't. Because you temporarily weren't existing as the mind, you could observe the wanderings of the mind. But the observer itself can never be observed. So who are you? Could it be that in fact there are two answers to this question? At one level, you are the mind and the thoughts in the mind. At another deeper level, there is a part of you which is the observer, the awareness, which is separate to the mind. I shall call this the witnessing awareness, or consciousness. It's actually what makes you conscious, what makes you alive, what makes you exist. Rather than, I think, therefore I am, therefore I think.
Over the next few videos, we shall introduce our hypothesis on the meaning of life. And as I'd mentioned at the beginning of the film, this is an exploration, something for us to play with and experiment with. It may require us to let go of our previous views on life, let go of our skepticism, and temporarily embrace some new radical ideas. Now, we often separate ourselves as belonging to a particular tradition or a particular faith. But could there be something deeper, beyond our beliefs, that unites us all as human beings? And it could all centre around consciousness. We said in the previous video that there could be something special about our awareness, and that everything could be made up of consciousness. Could the whole universe simply be vibrations in our own consciousness? Now, if consciousness is so important, what are the characteristics or qualities of consciousness?
Now, this is the first part of the hypothesis. Remember we said that science has no coherent, proven theory on the nature of consciousness. This awareness that's deep inside you is what you really are, and it is called pure consciousness, and it has certain characteristics. The first characteristic is that it doesn't need anything to be happy, so it is happy for no reason. We shall call this bliss, represented by the letter B. The deepest part of you is bliss. Now, that might not be your experience right now, that you could be blissfully happy for no reason. But that is one of the reasons for taking the experiment, to experience something amazing about yourself. The second characteristic is that this deepest part of you, this pure awareness, is pure love. It's the very essence of love. The letter L for love. Now, we normally think of love as a feeling or emotion. But consider the idea that love could in fact already be your deepest nature, your very essence.
Remember we said that there is scientific evidence supporting the idea that consciousness is connected, that subtle communication can occur between people's brains. The third characteristic of pure consciousness is that it is unified with everything. U for unity. And finally, that this consciousness is eternally existent. E for eternal existence. By that I mean it cannot be created or destroyed. The consciousness always exists before birth, during life, and after death. We now have the word blue. The deepest part of us is blissful, loving, unified with the whole, and eternally existent. Now, these are words that indicate the nature of consciousness, but words can never fully describe that which is beyond words. Blue can only be experienced.
Now, you may notice a profound contradiction here. Earlier on, I had said that human beings look for love, happiness, and connection. Yet now I am saying that at their deepest core, they are blue, blissful, loving, and unified. This leads us on to an even more profound conclusion. You are already what you seek. We strive for something on the outside that is already on the inside. Often people say, happiness comes from within. That is exactly what I am saying in this hypothesis, literally, and you can experience it.
Think about eating ice cream. It gives you happiness. It certainly does me. But where is the happiness coming from? Is the happiness in the ice cream? Or does the ice cream trigger some happiness within us? You see, happiness always comes from within. It's just that external objects just happen to trigger it. The physical realm has a set of laws which are called the laws of physics. Overlapping with this realm is the spiritual realm. This realm has its own set of laws. Now, why can't we detect these overlapping realms? Mathematically, we know that they could exist, but currently, science can only detect things in the physical realm. It is like asking a cartoon character to figure out that he is just a cartoon character stuck in a cartoon. The only thing that can reside in the spiritual realm is our individual consciousness. And so we can only experience the spiritual realm through our own consciousness.
The pure consciousness is blue, and the U inside blue stands for unity, or oneness. So there is only one consciousness. Now you might say, hang on, of course there are 7 billion people on this planet, they're all individual bits of consciousness. So this is the dichotomy.
In the spiritual realm, could it be that there is actually only one consciousness, and that it splits itself up into many seemingly separate bits of consciousness.
Now let me explain this using an analogy of the bowl and the sunlight. Imagine that all that exists is sunlight. It penetrates all beings and all things at all times. It's everywhere. It's interconnected. It's oneness. And when we put this bowl into the sunlight, we've captured a bit of sunlight inside the bowl. The sunlight inside the bowl is the individual consciousness. But is the sunlight inside the bowl any different to the sunlight outside the bowl? No, it's the same. It's all just one sunlight, but it just happens to be captured within the glass. It is all U for unity. But now each bowl imagines itself as separate, a separate bit of consciousness, a separate being. Just as in quantum physics, everything in all realms is interconnected, there is a perception that it feels separate in our physical realm.
If I was to break the glass bowl, the individual consciousness would merge with the sunlight, merge back into the one consciousness.
Now what I'm referring to here are colloquially known as souls. So consciousness, an individual bit of consciousness, is a soul. And so when we talk about the sunlight, that is everywhere, that is the one giant soul. And when we capture a bit of that one giant soul inside the bowl, that is the individual soul. There is oneness, and there is also the many at the same time. Now this glass means that the individual consciousness identifies with something different. Before it was identifying with the one sunlight, now it's got a separate identification. And that means we come from more of a place of what's in it for me, the I-ness, the my-ness, the separateness. The more we come from our ego, then the thicker the glass within the bowl and the more separate we feel. More about this later.
Now imagine billions of souls. Billions of bowls stretching as far as the eye can see in the spiritual realm. The oneness, the one sunlight, the one consciousness has now succeeded in creating the perception of many different beings.
Now, when the soul is in the physical realm, it temporarily forgets that it is blue. The soul forgets that it's pure bliss and pure love and pure unity. And the souls in the bowl are stuck in an illusion. It is an illusion in the sense that consciousness can never not be bliss and love and connected to the whole. It's impossible. Take this sugar, for instance. Now, the nature of sugar is sweetness. Can the sugar ever not be sweet? No, that's just its nature. And so in the same way, the individual soul, the individual consciousness in the bowl will always be blissful and loving. It's just that it becomes forgetful of its nature. Just like a diamond that gets covered in dust. When you remove the dust, the diamond is always the same.
Imagine the individual soul or consciousness is like a candle. In the spiritual realm, all there is light. There is no darkness. There is only blueness, bliss, love, unity, all existing eternally, like a sea of candles in the sun. The soul knows it is the light, but the soul can't experience itself as the light, because that's all there is, light. But is light really light if there is no darkness? Darkness can only exist in the physical universe. So now, when the soul comes into the physical realm, when the candle is put in a dark room, it can now experience itself as being the light. The polarities of dark and light, good and bad, right and wrong, can all exist now. The soul knew it was the light in the spiritual realm. It knew that it was blue. But now it can really experience itself as the light in the physical universe. Because in the physical universe, all the opposites of blue can now exist. Let's look at what those opposites of blue are. B for bliss. Unhappiness can exist in the physical realm now. As an example, this can be a fear of not getting what you want in life, leading to suffering. In this case, ignorance is definitely not bliss. L for love. The ultimate opposite polarity of love is fear.
So every thought can essentially come from a place of love or a place of fear. It's like a scale. And the soul, in the physical realm, can experience all those different range of emotions in the physical universe. The same is also true for all the other opposites of blue.
U for unity. The separate bowl in the sunlight now creates the illusion of disunity, loneliness, and separation. In fact, most of the problems in the world are down to how we divide and separate ourselves by nation or faith, rather than seeing ourselves as just all human beings. E for eternal existence. In the physical realm, the opposite is temporary existence, where death can exist. So what have we discovered so far in this section? The deepest part of you is pure awareness, which is pure consciousness. This pure consciousness is blissful, unconditionally loving, unified, and eternally existent. There are two realms, the physical realm and the spiritual realm. The physical realm is made up of energy, which forms planets, stars, and everything physical in the universe. In the spiritual realm, the one consciousness appeared to split itself up into small bits of consciousness, with separate identities or egos. The two realms overlap, allowing the individual bits of consciousness to experience the physical universe. In the physical realm, all the human opposites of bliss, love, unity, and eternal existence, all those opposites can now exist and be experienced. In the next video, we shall look at the equipment that our consciousness uses to experience the physical realm, and how we become identified with this mind-body equipment, which makes us forget our true nature.